Welcome to SB 67D Principles of Management 1. My name is Felicia Freedidan Akwa. I'll be taking you through Unit 3, the environment, social and ethical responsibilities of business. And we're going to start our discussion on session 1, looking at the general environment of our organizations or our businesses. By the end of this session, you should be able to explain the nature as well as the general environment of your business. We should also be able to list and explain the 5 forces of the general environment, as well as describe the effect of globalization on organizations. So let's go into business. So to start off, we're saying that the organization operates and exists in an environment. It is not an island. So at the end of the day, we need the environment for the business to also exist. And so the environment is very, very key if we're going to talk about what our business. And there are 2 broad divisions of the environment. We're saying that we have the internal environment, which is within the business we find ourselves, and then we have the external environment, those factors which are outside of our organization. We're saying that basically, when we're looking at the environment, we're looking at all the forces or factors that can actually affect the business or influence the business, and the business can also affect or influence it. And so you realize that when it comes to the interdependency of the business and then the organization and the environment, that is where the issues come up with. So within the business, within the organization, there are forces and factors that influences the business, and the business also influences it or affects it. And so those ones are what we call the controllable environment, which is the internal environment. And basically, your internal environment looks at the skills and talent of your employees, the managerial philosophies which your managers hold up to, the leadership styles which is being done, the facilities characteristics, as well as even the corporate structure. All of these are things which are within the business environment. And we're saying that you also have what we call the external environment, which is looking at all those factors that influence or the business is influencing, which is outside the business environment or the business organization. And these are usually classified into what we call the tax environment and the general environment. So let's go in to see what the general environment looks like. So when it comes to the general environment, which we also sometimes call the SLEPT factors, because it's made up of the social, the legal, the economic, the political, and the technological factors. Some also call it the PESTLE factors, PESTLE. Now, when we're looking at the external environment, like I made mention, we have the tax environment and we have the general environment. So in the picture you have here, you have the organization. Let me just use this for the internal. So the internal, we've made mention of the management philosophies, the employee skills and talents, philosophies of management, the culture of the organization. Those are within the organization, and you can control these ones. You have fair measure of control over these things. Now, when you go outside the organization, so outside this my white circle is the issues about the external environment. These are not within the business, and so you can't control these ones like the way you control the things within the business. If an employee is misbehaving, you can just sack the employee, go for a different person. But if your supplier is misbehaving, you may look for other alternatives, but these people can also still unmake and unmake you. If the economic situations are bad, inflation, exchange rates and things are on the high end things, what can you do? At the end of the day, you realize that these ones are a bit hard to control. And so right outside, we have what we call the tax environment. So in this one, you see the light cream, this part, these are all issues in our tax environment. These ones are closer to the organization. Yes, they are in the external environment. You don't have so much control over it, but these ones you can easily fine-tune yourself or set yourself in place to handle them as and when they come. So something like your customers, you can't go and control what they should buy, and so you can't force people to buy what you are selling. But at the end of the day, you can influence them one way or the other. And so in our external environment, they give us what we call opportunities and threats. We can take advantage of our opportunities and then look at what minimizing our threats. These are the things that comes from our external environment. And we have the tax environment, which usually looks at your competitors, your customers, your suppliers, and some of the pressure groups. You know, in Ghana, if people want to go on strike, they look at their organizations. So if UTAG goes on strike, you know that lectures is halted within 4 weeks or a month or more, and there's still no lectures and things. The school has to go down. The same way, till they want to mafia, they also go on strike together. If it's just one person who is pulling down their tools, it's not going to be effective. But when the numbers are a lot, the strength comes in. So these pressure groups are there, especially for the employees, the suppliers, and all those ones, just to also get a louder voice or stand. And these are in our tax environment. But our focus or our discussion today is going to be on the general environment in the external environment. So like I made mention, the general environment is widely spread throughout the organization indirectly. So when it comes to the tax environment, one thing to also note is that usually when it comes to the tax, it affects the industries you find yourself usually. So when it comes to the industries you find yourself, these are very key in there. But when it comes to the tax general environment, where we're having the SLEPS factors, it is the whole nation, it's the whole country. And so these ones, they are things that are very broad, they are even global. So these ones, they go further up. And so you realize that they're a bit hard to really control, and you may have to position yourself to take advantage of opportunities and minimize the threat. So let's look at the forces in this general environment. One of the key forces in there is the sociocultural factors. Now, when we're looking at the sociocultural issues, you're looking at issues that talk about gender, race, demographics. All these issues come in the culture, the way of life of the people's lifestyle, and all those things. These are things that are very critical in there. You know that you can't control the number of females and males you have in Ghana. No, by the end of the day, you can position yourself in such a way that if you realize there are more females, or there are more female population, then you can maybe produce for the female market. If you realize that there are more youth population that is going to be key in the next 5-10 years, you can strategically position your market for these people, so that when they get to where they can make decisions for themselves, they'll be familiar with your brand. And so you need to take note of these socio-cultural issues from demographics, from gender, race. All these things are very key in there. You realize every community and their way of life, you can't force it there. You can't go and do alcoholic distillery in a typical Muslim community. There's going to be some sort of friction in there, because for these communities, we do not drink. So why would you come in here wanting to produce alcohol at where we find ourselves? And so you need to be able to look out for these as well. Political and legal factors also are very key in there. You know that at the end of the day, in Ghana, for a typical example is in Ghana, there are some political parties that come into power, and then they are pure socialists. They believe government should do everything, build the roads, build the schools, do everything. Some also come in and they believe in capitalism, that individual investors should be able to also thrive and help in them. So at the end of the day, they all have their own political trajectories they come in with, and some may not favor you, some may favor you. We see things in Ghana where sometimes construction of roads and things, this person comes, they bring their people, next people come, you all go away, next batch comes in. And so this political environment, you need to be mindful of it. If there's a coup d'etat or there's disruption in political stability, some businesses have to halt, some of the foreign businesses have to go away, and all those things. And so this is very key in the legal aspects too. You know, there are laws, there are enactments, there are bylaws that's what businesses must follow through. And so this legal environment of business is also very critical in there, especially when it comes to the laws for doing your business and how you're going to go about it. And you know that as a good business or as a good citizen of every business, you should be law abiding, because every business is a legal entity. As a legal entity, you're also supposed to be law abiding as well, be a good citizen in there. And we also have the economic issues in there as well. And you know, economic issues, we can't go about looking about things in the economy we find ourselves. This past few years has been a bit tough in Ghana, doing business in Ghana, because you realize that inflation has been on the high. You go and buy your raw materials today at this price, tomorrow your price, the go and the price is different. You realize that exchange rate has been very serious in there. Even when it comes to loan interest rates and all those things, you go into the banks today, you're going to take a loan, and the percentage they are taking you for interest is something else. All of this affects the economic stability in the country, which also affects your business. Whether you like it or not, it's going to have an influence on your business. We also have technological factors. Yes, technologies make work easy and they make the business thrive better. But at the end of the day, don't forget that technologies keep changing so rapidly. In the era we find ourselves, technologies come with a lot of cost. It's expensive to get the latest technologies, and sometimes you may bring it in and it may not be operational where you find yourself. You may bring it in and you brought it in at the wrong time. It's already outdated and all those issues. And so technology has an effect on our business, and we need to be able to work with it. We've seen issues about globalization. These days, the world is a global market. I can stay in Ghana, do business with people who are outside with the internet as well. And so globalization has brought a lot of benefits and disadvantages. There's dumping, which is something which most governments are trying to fight, so that people don't put their waste elsewhere, people don't take advantage of other smaller countries and all those ones. And so you realize that in the general environment, these are key things that have to be looked at. Your business, you can't go and control it all. You can't go and say that at the end of the day, whatever political issues or whatever laws I'm supposed to abide by, I'll choose the laws I want to abide by and then choose the ones I don't want to abide by. It doesn't work like that. And so for these ones, they give you opportunities and threats, and you may have to position your business in a way to take advantage of some of these opportunities and position yourself to minimize some of the threats that comes with these things. And so you've seen people do a bit of hedging and all those things to help them financially. We've seen people strategically position their business, looking at some special niches in the market. So if they're looking at females, because there are lots of females in Ghana as compared to males, some businesses strategically look at them. Some strategically look at children and all those ones. All of these are things you'd have to look at in your general environment, because yes, the business is going to be influenced by these indirectly, whether you like it or not. So in this session, we focus our discussion on the general environment of the organization, especially on the forces within the general environment. Thank you.